Select that scenery.
Ready to race.
Okay, and my transmitter isn't connected up yet, but I don't actually need it connected up yet, so I'm going to show you some things in here. So up the top here you can see it says mode rate. So what this is this is the mode that the flight controller on the quad is working in, and when it's in this mode it's not giving you any assists, it's not helping you to fly in any way. It's all completely manual control. So what we're going to do initially is it's all completely manual control. So what we're going to do initially is we're going to change that. So we press 1 on the keyboard and that will change the mode, as you can see up here, to angle. So we're now in angle mode, and in angle mode the quad will self-level. So if I just plug in my transmitter here, okay, that's my transmitter plugged in. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the camera angle. Now I've got the camera angle set up on my dials on my Tyrannus, but with the page up and page down keys you can change your camera angle. So if I press page up, you can see that my camera angle is changing now. As a beginner you probably only want about 20 degrees of camera angle, no more than that. And then on insert and delete you've got your field of view. Now the field of view controls how much of the scene you can see, and generally a good value that will match something like what you're going to see through a quad lens is 115, 120, something like that. So set that field of view using insert and delete keys on your keyboard to 115 or 120. Now on a Mac you won't have page up and page down or insert or delete, so you can find out what you should be pressing over here in the help. So you can see it's minus or equals for page up and down for the camera angle, and then for the field of view, let's see, where is the field of view? Insert delete. There we go, it's the square brackets, square bracket left and square bracket right. On a Mac will do that for you. Okay, so we're in angle mode, we've got our camera angle at a level where we can see where we're going, we can see what we're doing, we've got our field of view set so that we've got a good wide angle field of view similar to what you get on a real quad. So the next thing is setting up the quad so that it is tame. We want it to be not too violent. By default velocidrone is set up in full race mode. It's designed for an experienced quad racer, so we want to calm it down. So we go to change quad settings in here and change the propeller down to 40/40. So that's the smallest prop that you can put on the quad, and that's all you need do in there. And then we'll go into advanced drone setup, which is on the cog here, and in here we're going to calm the quad down. So we're going to change our super rates here, and we're going to go all the way down to 50. And all the way down to 50, and all the way down to 50, like that. So our maximum rotational rate is only 400 degrees a second, which is nice and slow. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the angle mode here, the strength of it, and we're going to soften this right down. So we're going to change this all the way down to 20. That will do, and we'll click save. Okay, so when we click save it will reset us on. What we're going to do is we're going to change the rotational rate is only 400 degrees a second, which is nice and slow. The smallest prop that you can put on the quad, and that's all you need to do. 40. Designed for it to be not too violent. By default velocidrone is set up in full race mode. It's designed for an experienced quad racer, so we want to calm it down. So we go to change quad settings in here and change the propeller down to 40/40. So that's the smallest prop that you can put on the quad, and that's all you need do in there. And then we'll go into advanced drone setup, which is on the cog here, and in here we're going to calm the quad down. So we're going to change our super rates here, and we're going to go all the way down to 50, and all the way down to 50, and all the way down to 50, like that. So our maximum rotational rate is only 400 degrees a second, which is nice and slow. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the angle mode here, the strength of it, and we're going to soften this right down. So we're going to change this all the way down to 20. That will do, and we'll click save. Okay, so when we click save it will reset us onto the start grid. Now what we've done here is really soften the drone up. So if I just give it a little bit of throttle now to take off, in fact I'll turn on my sticks so that you can see my sticks. Yeah, it's the M key. Right, so you can see my stick here. So this is the throttle for mode 2. I'm just raising it up very, very gently, and you can see the quad just kind of pops up and it's bouncing up and down in ground effect, which is a cushion of air very close to the ground. And you can see that the quad is just kind of drifting a little bit. Now if I give it a little bit of roll and then let go, you can see that it actually leveled off again, and if I give it roll the other way, you can see that it's drifted back and then leveled off again. You can see that the quad's really quite light, and I'm only giving it tiny little movements to move it around. So let's stop it bouncing around and just go a little bit higher up here like that. And now you can see how it's self-leveling. If I push the stick right to the right and let go, you can see that it self-levels. So I push it right to the left and let go, you can see the quad self-levels. If I push forward and let go, again it all self-levels. You can control your height with the throttle, just moving the throttle up and down. See me bouncing the quad up and down here. Okay, so those are your basic controls. You've also got yaw as well, which is on the throttle stick, so yaw spins the quad like this. You can see there's my yaw control, yawing to the left and yawing to the right. And you can see that when you're in angle mode, as long as you don't go too crazy on the throttle, it's all very controllable, it doesn't try and fly off, and you can get a feel for how sensitive these various controls are without getting completely out of control. Now, the biggest issue when you're a beginner is height control. It's just getting too high all the time or getting too low and flying into the ground. So let's now go back to the start grid. So I'm going to press R on the keyboard to take me back to the start grid, which lines me up with the pylons. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and fly down here and go through these pylons at no higher than the height of the pylons. So we want to keep our height relatively low. That's the aim, but the first time we do this, we're going to do it above the height of the pylons to give us some space to get it wrong, basically. So we just up our throttle a little bit, so we pop up, and then in angle mode, to keep flying forwards, you've got to hold the stick forward a little bit, so we just tip the stick forward just a tiny bit. You can see we start to move forwards. Now if you just hold the stick forward all the time, you'll fly into the ground because you'll lose height effectively. You keep pushing forward, you see I'm starting to dive, and I have to let go in order to come up again, and also I got very, very fast and now I'm climbing. Now this is all to do with the lift from the props. As you get faster, they generate more lift. So you want to try and keep your speed relatively low, so you want to just nudge the quad forward and then just give it a little nudge and keep it going, and just try to control your height on the throttle. Very slight movements on the throttle, very slight movements on the pitch stick to pitch the quad forwards. You can see I'm just using the throttle to control my height. Let's just land again and press R to reset back to the start grid. So now we're going to fly down here, we're going to try and fly this course. So we're going to go take off, push forward very gently, very, very gently, get the quad moving. Now I don't really want to go any faster than this. I just want to adjust my throttle in tiny amounts just so that I can fly through this first pylon. Like so. Then I need to rotate a little bit on the yaw just to line up for this next pylon. You can see I'm doing this really very, very slowly. And then we've gone through the second one. Now, at this point we need to initiate a turn. We've got to make a left-hand turn. Now when you turn a quad, you don't just use, so if you can see the sticks at the bottom there, if I just use yaw, that's not going to work very well. What you actually want to use is a little bit of bank, so a little bit of roll, so this stick on the right, you want the bank to the left, and you also want to add a little bit of yaw as well, but not in that sort of amount, so it's just going to be a little tiny amount like that, very small amount to fly around that corner. So let's reset ourselves back by pressing R, take off, pop ourselves up, kind of get the feel for where we are, then nudge the quad forward very gently, get ourselves flying forward, control our height with the throttle, very tiny movements on the throttle to control the height, and then give it a little bit of time to react. And then when we get down here through this next pylon, we're going to use both sticks together to the left to initiate a turn. So both sticks together, and you can see that's, I've got to push forward a little bit just to keep it going and give it a little bit of throttle to keep it out of the ground. But both sticks are very, very slightly to the left to make that turn, and then we can just nudge it forward, give a little bit of throttle to keep it out of the ground, nudge it forward again, and then both sticks together to the left to initiate the turn, nudge it forward to keep it going so it doesn't stop, and then we come round and we can fly our course again. So that's the basics of getting it to fly in angle mode, and in the next video we'll talk about flying faster and getting more control of the quad and how we migrate from angle mode to rate mode. So I'll see you on the next video. Okay, welcome to this video. This is the second in the series of learning to fly with velocidrone, and if you haven't watched the first video, check out our YouTube channel and just look for the flight training video number 1, which will take you through how to set the drone up, which we've already done. So we're still in angle mode, and what we're going to be doing now is going to be looking at trying to fly a little bit faster and how that changes things. So if I just pop the model up into the hover again, like so, just get it kind of bouncing in ground effect there. I push the stick forward to get us moving, very gently, a bit more throttle, and I'm just going to push the nose of the quad forward more and more and more, and add more throttle so that we're moving much faster. Then both sticks together to the left to make the turn, use the throttle to control the height, bring the throttle back in so we don't hit the ground. Both sticks together to make the turn to the left, keep nudging it forward so it doesn't stop. You can see I'm adjusting the throttle all the time, and adjusting the sticks all the time. That's one of the difficulties with learning to fly a quad, is it's not like a plane, it won't fly forwards all the time. It will stop when you make a turn. If you don't keep the nose down a little bit, it's going to stop and stall, so you just kind of need to keep the pressure on. You can see on that right hand stick I'm holding the stick forwards all the time, even in the turns, just to keep the speed on and to keep the quad going, and I'm just controlling my height gently on the throttle. Now this is true for angle mode, but when we get into rate mode, which is how quad racers fly, you can't actually hold the stick forward anymore because it's no longer going to stabilize for you. So once we get into a place where we're flying around like this, if we start to fly a lot faster, so if I really start to put the nose down and fly a lot faster, you can see that we start having difficulties with seeing where we're going because all we can see is the ground. I'll really start to go a lot faster. You can see I can't actually see where the pylons are because I'm looking at the ground all the time. To make this turn, I can't actually see that pylon because I'm looking down. Well, let's just reset back to the grid. The reason for that is the camera angle. So if you remember in the first video, we set the camera angle really quite low, and that's so that when you yaw, it doesn't look weird. So it looks like when you're yawing that you're making a turn around an axis. The thing about lots of camera angle, so if I put in lots of camera angles, so if I put in say 60 degrees of camera angle, first problem you've got is you can't see the horizon anymore, and the second problem if I take off and turn a bit is that you can't really see what's going on either. You haven't really got much of a clue as to what is going on or where we're going. Now if I just take us off and put the nose down and fly very fast forward and then yaw, you'll see that something really weird happens, and that's because the camera is not in line with the quad. It's kind of facing up and away from the quad rather than along the axis of the quad. So when you just yaw, you get this weird effect where the horizon tilts, which you're not expecting. So again, that's another reason why when you start to fly quad, you have your camera angle right down here at around 20 degrees, so that when you do that yaw, this is yaw, when you do that yaw, you don't get a strange kind of angle to the horizon because the quad is tilted right the way forwards. But in order to fly faster, you need to see more of where you're going, so your camera angle's got to come up. So one of the things that you need to do in order to get to fly faster is you need to start raising your camera angle. So if we go to say 30 degrees, and I reset us to the start grid, and I fly this relatively fast, you'll see that I'm now not really struggling to see where I'm going. I'm not looking at the ground. I can see out and away from the front of the quad as to what's coming. And that's the reason why we want to aim for having a higher and higher camera angle. The higher your camera angle, the faster you can fly, because you've got the quad tilted up more, but also it allows you to see where you're going. If you don't raise your camera angle, all you're going to see when you're flying fast is the ground, and then you can't plan or target for where you need to go next. So that's why camera angle is so important. Okay, so at some point you'll get to the stage where you can fly around these pylons with 30 degrees or 40 degrees of camera angle, and you can bank your sticks to the left and make a nice turn like this, and make it nicely through the pylons again, and all of this is going to feel really quite natural and good. Now the moment you reach that stage where you can fly around at the kind of speed you just saw, you want to stop using angle mode, because you can't really race a real quad in angle mode because it's fighting you all the time. It's always trying to level out, and that is always going to stop you from being fast. So what we need to do is we need to move away from angle mode next and get into rate mode, where the quad will no longer stabilize, and that's in the next video. Hi and welcome to this video, and in this one we're going to be switching from angle mode to rate mode. So what we know about angle mode is that if we're flying and we bank and we let go of the stick, it levels out for us. Now, we made that very, very soft in the advanced drone setup. That's what this parameter here was for angle. If I turn this up, let me turn this back up to 50 so you can see what this parameter does. If I bank to the left now and let go of the stick, you can see it's really self-leveling really quite fast now. And what we did was we really softened that up in our advanced drone setup by changing it to 20, so that it gave us a really nice soft quad. Well, when we changed to rate mode, this whole self-leveling softness is all going to disappear because it's not going to self-level at all. So if I go back here and I press 3 on the keyboard, you'll see that it changes here to rate mode. Now in rate mode we don't have any stabilisation, so if I take off, I'm going to go reasonably high to do this, and I bank the quad to the left and leave it there, you can see it's not self-stabilising. I actually have to stabilise myself, and wherever I let go of the stick, it's just going to stay there. Whatever angle I put the quad at, it's just going to stay there. It's not going to do any stabilisation at all. Now what this means is that when I go into forward flight, I can't hold forward all the time anymore because it will just keep tilting forward. So one of the skills that we learned from angle mode, which was pushing forwards on the stick all the time to fly forwards, we now need to unlearn, because if you just keep pushing forward, it's just going to keep going and then you'll end up upside down and crashed. Instead, what we've got to learn to do now is to take the quad off, tip it forward slightly, and then let go of the stick. And now we're controlling our height purely on the throttle. I'm not actually touching. I'm going to have to touch the stick a little bit to go through these pylons. You can see here I'm not actually touching the right stick at all, and I'm just controlling my height and what's going on the throttle. You can see I'm just flying along in a straight line, and I can just bounce the quad up and down above the ground, and I don't have to touch that right stick at all in order to keep going. I've just flown out of video transmitter range, so coming back again, I've got the quad tilted slightly forward, and it just stays there for me, and I can control my height purely with the throttle, like so. So that's the difference. Of course, with it not actually self-stabilising, you now have the ability, if I go up very high here, to just completely roll all the way around, and you can also roll all the way around like that, and it won't stop you, it will let you do that. That's what rate mode, that's the way rate mode works. It doesn't give you any restrictions, it doesn't interfere with your control inputs at all. It expects you to completely fly the quad on your own. So, with that in mind, what's different when we want to fly our course? Well, actually not very much. Other than not pushing forward on the stick all the time, flying the quad in rate mode is actually very, very similar. You take off, you nudge the quad forward to get it going, and then you use the throttle to control your height. So I'm actually not touching the right stick now, I'm literally just using the throttle. I've got to make a little bit of a turn to the right here to make this, and again I'm pushing both sticks together, and then here I'm pushing both sticks together to the left to make my turn. But I'm not pushing forward anymore. I don't need to push forward anymore because the quad is already tilted forward. That hasn't changed. It's not self-leveling anymore, so I don't have to correct and push the stick forward all the time anymore. I just have to move the sticks in exactly the same way as I did in angle mode, but without that constant pressure to tilt the quad forwards to fly forwards. And again, I'm controlling my height mainly on the throttle. If I want to fly slower, then I just bring the angle of the quad back. I just tilt the quad back, keep tilting it back, tilting it back, tilting it back. You can see I'm slowing down, slowing down, slowing down, and then eventually I'm going to stop, and actually now I'm starting to fly backwards and into the pylon because I couldn't see where I was going. So that's the main difference with rate mode, is that you don't have that self-stabilisation fighting your controls anymore. But the good thing about it is that when you start bringing your camera angle up to higher angles, to say 45 degrees, to fly a lot faster, like this, it's not fighting you anymore, and you just set your angle for flying, and you don't actually have to do too much on the right stick anymore for flying in straight lines. You set your height, and then you just use your throttle to control the height. You can see I can go really high on my throttle, and it's really not making, with a 45 degree camera angle, I can go very high on the throttle and it's really not climbing that much, it's just changing my forward speed. Going out of range again, let's go back. And that's another reason for wanting to get towards a higher camera angle, is it takes the height sensitivity away from the quad. See, I can go full throttle and it's really not having that much effect on my height. Now, flying through pylons, that's not that big of a deal because the pylons don't have a top to them. But if we're flying through a gate where you need to control your height, you need to be low to go through it, the last thing you want is a quad that's very, very height sensitive, so when you hit the throttle it climbs. So if your camera angle was down here where we started at 20 degrees, let me show you this. If I fly forwards now and I give it full throttle, see how it's now extremely height sensitive and it's climbed a huge amount compared to how it was when we had the camera at 45 degrees. So camera angle is, again, a very, very important part of learning how to fly the quad, because you need to set it at a level that you're able to control so you don't fly too quickly, because at 20 degrees you can really fly quite slowly, but you have got that height sensitivity, so you've got to be very careful with the throttle. But when you get to 45 degrees camera angle, you're now going to fly a lot faster because the quad's tilted forward a lot more. Oh, I've got that on a boundary now. So the quad's tilted forward a lot more, so you're flying a lot faster, but that height sensitivity is really gone. It's not height sensitive anymore, and that makes flying through small gates and low down gates much easier, because you haven't got to deal with, when you open the throttle, the fact that the quad skyrockets up into the sky. Okay, that's probably enough for this video talking about camera angle and rate mode. Hi and welcome to this video. So this is the next video in the series of flight training, and in this video we're going to move away from this pylons track because this is now really too easy, and we're going to move to something that will start giving you some more obstacles to negotiate, which require some finer height control and also some more coordinated turns. So I'm going to go to the change scenery button here, and I'm going to change to the karting track, and we're going to go around Race Drones Classic.
Okay, where is the change scenery button?
Which require some finer height control and also some more coordinated turns. So I'm going to go to the change scenery button here, and I'm going to change to the karting track, and we're going to go around Race Drones Classic.
Ready to race.
Okay, so let's press R to reset ourselves onto the start grid. Now this is the Race Drones Classic track, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put my camera angle down to 20 degrees, which is what we had before, but I'm going to stay in rate mode, and we're going to fly around this track, and I'm going to show you the new items in here that are going to give you the next challenge. And you can see the first one down there, which is it's a gate, and of course to fly through a gate you need to control your height. So we're just going to pop ourselves up gently into the hover. Let me just turn my stick so you can see. We'll pop ourselves up gently into the hover, so we're just bouncing in the hover here. Very gently tip the quad forward and give it a little tiny bit of throttle to get us moving. Now at 20 degrees we're obviously very height sensitive, so we've got to be very careful on the throttle. So that's first through gate. Now the next gates are all flags. This is our coordinated turns, both sticks to the right, down here. And again this will be a both sticks to the right turn. And then both sticks to the left. Drift around that turn, and then here we've got a tighter one, so this is both sticks to the left, a bit of throttle so we don't go in the ground, because the more you bank the more height you'll lose, and then a gentle drift around both sticks to the right here to get through here. Now again a challenge, we need to go under this one, so we need to control our height, go under that one, and then we can drift down here, both sticks to the right, a bit of throttle so that we don't lose height, and then level out, and then gently back through the gate again. Now that's at 20 degrees. Now obviously we're trying to get ourselves flying a bit faster, so we're going to change. We're going to fly this at 30 degrees. And this is what you want to be doing, is you want to be just nudging up your camera angle and getting used to what happens when you bring the camera angle up. So we're going to just get ourselves up into the hover again. It gets a little bit higher this time, so I'm just drifting up a little bit. There we go, just drifting up a little bit, and then put the nose forward, and you'll see that I have to come off the throttle a little bit here just to go through the first gate. Again, I'm hardly touching the right stick for that, I'm just controlling what's going on the throttle. Then both sticks to the right, bit of throttle so we don't lose height. Drift down to this one, both sticks to the right and a bit of throttle so I don't lose height. This one here, both sticks to the left, a bit of throttle so I don't lose height. Both sticks to the left again, and a bit of throttle so I don't lose height, level out. And down here, both sticks to the right again, very, very gentle movements as you can see. I'm not putting in huge amounts of movement here, maybe a little bit more yaw than I am roll. Because when you roll, you definitely lose height because you're angling the quad. Whereas with yaw at this camera angle, you don't really lose that much height, so you can kind of steer around with a bit more yaw. Okay, so that's at 30 degrees. So now we're going to go up again. We're going to move up now to 40 degrees. Again, pop the quad up into the hover. I'm going to go just slightly climbing again this time. So I'm just slightly climbing, like that, and then tip it forward. And you can see, as I tipped it forward, it started to dive, and I pulled back to level it out. So again, this is a different type of skill now because we're at 45 degrees. So we don't necessarily need to control our height purely on our throttle stick over here, our left stick. We can actually pull back to gain height on the right stick. If we're travelling quickly, this acts just like an aeroplane. So in an aeroplane, if you're travelling along and you pull back, you do a loop. Well, in a quad, when you're travelling quickly, if you pull back on this stick, you gain height. So I can show you that. If I fly down here and I pull back, you can see I go over the top of it. And it's just acting just like an elevator stick in a plane. So now you want to be coordinating now your movement. So yes, you can control your height on the throttle alone. So we could fly down here on throttle alone, and I could just control my height purely on the left stick, as you can see, like that. But I can also fly down here a bit quicker and control my height on the right stick, like that. That was all a bit fast and difficult to see what was going on. But you can push forward to go down and pull back to go up. As you can see, just gentle movement, push forward to go down and pull back to go up. And again, this is learning to coordinate two different controls to control your height, not just using one stick all the time, just throttle to control your height. Because throttle you want to use to control power in the turns, to get your quad around the turn as well. And if you want to make a really fast turn, so if I go down here, I want to make a very fast turn on this flag, I'm going to use lots of throttle to make it around that turn, to power me around the turn, and again here, and then around here, and you can see I'm angling the quad against my direction and using the power of the quad on the throttle to make the turn. So the faster I'm going, the more power I'm going to use to turn it. If I come down here relatively quickly and I want to make this turn, I've got to put in quite a lot of power to make the turns. And this is using throttle and the power of the props to make the turn, rather than just using the aerodynamics of the quad. So the quad isn't a wing, it doesn't have a wing to help you through the turns, to grip the air. All it has is props. So if you want to turn quickly, you need to use the throttle to power up the props to give you that grip through the turn. So let's take our camera angle up again, and we'll fly this at 45 degrees. We'll fly this a bit quicker now. You can see I'm using power now to make my turns. You can hear me putting the power on to make the turn. And this is one of the things about quad flying, is that the throttle is very, very active. You don't just sit with the throttle in one place all the time. I mean, you can, but you'll basically do very, very wide sweeping turns with the throttle in one place all the time, like this. You can see I haven't really got the ability to turn tightly, because I've just fixed my throttle and I'm just not using that power to get me through the turns. So that's all at fixed throttle. But actually, to fly it more quickly, you need to come off the throttle and power it to get around the turn, and then come around here and power it to get here, and then power it to go there. And then this turn is all about power. And then around here, and crash straight into a flag. So it's using the power of the props to give you the effect of a wing, effectively, that you'd have in a plane. It's getting that grip in the corners, using the power of the quad to make sure that you can turn tightly. It's using all that thrust that you've got, instant thrust that you've got available to you, to make it around the tight turns. And that's the next stage in your flying. Okay, that's enough for this video, and we'll move on to the next video.
Okay, I don't think I'm ready for the next video. So why don't we just practice the 50-degree camera angle? I need to take a break, but I'll be right back. The pitch stick, right? So let's try that. We're at 50-degree camera angle. Let's take off, pitch forward. Oh yeah, you can pitch back a little so that it doesn't crash. To slow down and also to gain altitude. Alright, you're actually flying much faster. Pitch back a little. Okay, that is cool. Pitch back a little to slow down and gain height. So you think you're going down? Pitch back, pitch back. Ooh, that's nice. Pitch back. Okay, yeah, that made sense. That was epic. Thank you, Mr. Velocidrone, for teaching me that. You take off a little, pitch forward, pitch back. Oh yeah. Okay, and return. Pitch back to gain height. Okay, yeah. Okay, yes. Yeah, we crashed. Okay, this is epic. I had to learn height management with using throttle and the pitch. See? Gain height by pitching back a little. Oh, you can slow down also. And then, let's say you want to slide. Ooh, that was so smooth. Gaining height again, so you're pitching back, right? Okay, yeah, so smooth. That was epic. Because it has got no wing. Let's listen to that video again. Yeah, the changing the camera angle affects your quad. I was not able to explain this while turning, slowing height management using the pitch stick. It should be a separate chapter on that. Height management using the pitch stick. Because throttle now at 50 degrees, I can see that the pitch is affecting the height a lot more than the throttle alone is. The throttle is definitely affecting it, but the pitch, when you pitch backwards and you hit the throttle, it just climbs. Notice that. This is epic. I didn't know about this. I was only like pitch forward, pitch forward. I was only throttling higher to gain altitude, and at higher camera angles that didn't make any sense at all. Whee! Whip around that. Okay, height management. I don't know if the physics of this are actually making it a lot more easier or what it is, but why is it so easy? Maybe I should just ask my wife to play this once and then see if it makes any sense. Or is it just, am I just getting better at this, or like, height management by using the pitch. Baby, can you play this once? I just want to check if it is me that is flying really well or if the game is just too easy. Huh? Can you do this one? Babe. Okay, finish that game. But don't start another one, okay? I need you to test this for me. Baby, please. So let's reset this and let's give this to my beloved, dearly beloved wife. Please be seated in the hot seat. Let's see.
What game is this? Why did it turn ulta?
Here in this. Here. Please come here one. So now most of the height is done by throttle alone. Please sit here now once. I asked you to sit here now once. You have to go like this. Oh, as soon as I try to even punch the throttle, it just goes up. So this is what it means when they say camera angle affects the speed of the quad. See this. Hello? So when I was racing with liftoff the other day, one of the guys said, I hate it when my quad just goes off into the air as soon as I punch the throttle. And now I realize that it goes off into the air when you punch the throttle. That means your camera angle is too low for the power of the quad, right? It's not very easy, right? When you flew it, say you want to go around this, like this. You only. Who else will I talk to? It's not easy, right? Huh? So this is what it means to have a slower camera angle. This is a 20-degree camera angle. You can see how slow the quad is. But you can fly faster by pitching forward more. But then you won't be able to see anything where you're going. See, I'm trying to go faster, but I'm looking down now because the camera angle is 20 degrees. It's pointed more towards the ground, right? Oh, okay. Let's say I want to go faster and now it's climbing so fast. So you have to do the throttle height management using only the throttle when your camera angle is so low. Whoa! So that is how it changes. And as soon as you hit the throttle, it starts climbing. See, it's climbing so bad. But when you are at a higher camera angle, say like 50 degrees or something, how it changes the way you control your quad is the throttle has lesser effect on the height. So to climb, you have to use the pitch more to pull back on the pitch and then it will climb. But here, it's already climbing if you give some throttle. So let's reset. Okay, landing was not very smooth. Right? Am I flying nice? So we reset and now we will try to go to a camera angle. So this is like the quad, right? And I'm raising, the camera should look up so that when the quad is like this, it's pointed straight forward. So when I'm pointed up, so that when I'm like this is how it moves, right? So, so now I'm at 30 degrees. Let's go to 40 degrees. I think I was at 50. Let's try 50. Now we are at 50 degrees. So the camera is literally pointing up like this. So now we take off slightly. Okay. And now see how fast it is moving. Can you see? And to control the height, you have to use the throttle and the pitch. You're not even looking. Okay. So I am trying to fly one lap here. So you pitch back to gain height if you're falling too quickly, and then you turn, and then you do this, and you're going so much faster, right? So when you want to go slow, you just pitch back a little, and at the same time you will gain height a little bit. And how cool is that? So you go here, and now you want to make a real tight turn. Ooh, that was nice, right? That was like, it's like you're on rails. That's how it should feel like. So see, I was approaching the ground much faster. So I just pitched back a little and it climbed so quickly. So you can do height management with not just the throttle, but with the pitch stick also. See the pitch stick, I push back, it climbs. Immediately it climbs. See, it climbs. I need it to climb, I need to gain altitude, I pull back on the pitch stick. Oh, very nice. Now, what I'm not sure about is if it is the game that the physics are like this, or should I try this in liftoff and see if I have the skills have, you know, carried on there also. I'm trying to stay on the road because it's very easy to go up the road and go fast. Oh, very nice, nicely done. And then you have to let the momentum carry you around it. As soon as he said that, something like clicked in my brain, because otherwise what I was doing was I'm falling down. What I'm doing is I'm just trying to throttle out of it, and when you try to throttle out of it, you don't gain altitude, you just keep going because throttle doesn't affect height as much. You understood? See, now I'm going into the ground. If I just keep throttling, it will climb, but at a very slower rate. But say I need to climb faster, I'll just pull back on the stick a little, and it immediately takes me, whoa, that was close, immediately takes me off the ground. See, I'm going fast, I'm climbing. I need to climb means I will immediately pull back on the stick a little, just like an elevator on a plane. Fixed wing. Saw? Now the difference it makes just by pulling back little, you gain height so much. Ooh, that is amazing. I didn't know this. So that is how you control. That's why that guy was Kimai, right? When he flies with a 75-degree angle and he has throttle completely full. So most of the power goes into only turning. Oh, there I crashed because I was trying to use only throttle. I forgot about the pitch completely. Epic, no, this is 7 days of practice. You remember how I was flying on the first day? So let's do this. Let's leave this session here. And what we will do now is we will try to switch to lift off. And wait, I need AC. I'm sweating. This is really like stressful types. So let's go to lift off and see if the same skills translate over there also, right? Because before I started doing any of this, in the tutorial there is one with four corners, and it was impossible for me on August 24th. Today is August 31st, so it's been like 7 days. On August 24th, I tried so hard. It was like literally, I was all over the place. I turned, and it would just go off into the sky and then come back. It would go off into the sky whenever I tried turning. So let's see if if I will be able to do because I haven't tried it since August 24th. I'm really stressed out right now. So let's see. So it was called advanced turns. No, it was called basic turns. So this was the one that I tried to do the other day, and it was so difficult. I tell you, when I tried it the last time. So okay. So what is the camera angle at? It's at 30 degrees, which is decent. What does the quad look like? Oh, it's this quad. Okay, fine. Fine, fine. So let's take off and we pitch forward. Oh my god, you see how it drifted? Oh my god, oh my god, this is so sensitive. I think the rates are too high. Maybe we need to push the rates down. Let's try to push the rates down. Uh, Game options. Are you leaving? Are you leaving? Let's try to put the rates to at least, I think, because it was very sensitive. I think I have finally got the hang of it. Are you leaving? Let's try to get the tools, workbench. I wonder why it skipped the drone selection process. I don't. It gave me a very bad drone in the very beginning, and I'm a very hypersensitive drone. So let's see. We'll tune that drone. I don't know which drone it was. It's probably this Mistral drone, right? Select. There was some place where you could tune the PIDs, flight controller settings. Not sure if you can get to the flight controller settings from the tutorial screen. So where is this? Edit flight controller. See the Super 8 is at 70. Let's make this 50. Oh, whoa, not 50. I mean 0.5. That should bring it down to. Oh, come on. Okay. 0.5. What? 0.5. 0.5. Thank you. 0.5. 0.5. Okay, let's save that. Back. Save. I cannot modify. Would you like to? Okay, yes. Okay. Save. Okay. Exit. Not sure if the in the tutorial you can edit the flight controller settings, but I would really like in the tutorial to be like first flight. Okay, if there were a drone selection menu, you would like that to be much lower. I think she left. What is this? Video and track. We don't want the video portion, but I would like to see the track, please. Yes, sir, please. So we're here. Let's do options, game options. Back. Game or graphics option. This is back. Okay, I don't think we have any option to change the flight controller settings here. So we take off, we pitch forward, right? Oh god, this is so twitchy. It's not so twitchy in real life. It's so difficult. Whoa, 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 whoa. That was like it was on rails. See? That's exactly what I meant. This thing is horrible. So where? See. Oh, disgusting. There's no way I can do this in liftoff. Oh, whoa, whoa, okay. And you will gain altitude. It is so twitchy. Just hit this bloody drone. Oh, see, it just slide off. Okay, I'm turning. Literally, I don't know. This is. Why is this so horrible? Why doesn't it allow options, game options? Okay, you know. Okay, I'll take off again. Okay, whoa. Oh, maybe just my fingers have to get used to the faster quad. See the rates on this. The rates are actually okay. Okay, maybe it's not as powerful. I'm able to do this probably. It just falls. It's so icy. I don't know. The physics of velocidrone are better. What is wrong with this? Is this how it works in real life? Or maybe there is no air resistance. Oh, see? See how floaty it is. Okay, yeah, we turning, right? Maybe it was just too late. We are at 30-degree camera angle, which is okay. For this drone, what is wrong with this drone? Okay, pitching backwards to gain altitude, right? Like they taught us to. Are we doing 8s? Right. Okay, there. Why did it float backwards? Okay, we'll go. We will turn. Okay, maybe 50, maybe the 30-degree camera angle. It just started looking down, right? Whoa, just look at that. It's impossible, man. It's so floaty. What is wrong with this? Okay. It gained altitude so quickly. But in velocidrone, it was like it was on rails. I don't know which is more realistic. Is liftoff or velocidrone? I've played both. But liftoff definitely feels a lot more difficult than velocidrone. Oh, it's still the same as on the day one. I don't know why it feels like that. Can you do fast turns around this at all? I'm not sure. 30-degree camera angle becomes 100 degrees so fast, right? So I was like trying to pitch back to control my height, because at 30 degrees it feels like 100 degrees. Yeah. Okay, yeah, pitch back. Pitch forward. Move, start moving forward. It is so floaty, I tell you. It is so floaty. How are the physics? I don't know if the physics of velocidrone are floaty. I think you have to have a tighter. That quad felt so much tighter. Oh yeah, like it was on rails. That damn thing. I'm not sure if the super rate is different or my fingers are used to a different. Right now you're just doing eights. You're climbing so crazy. Okay, it's much better than when I just took the. But it's still not smooth. Okay, who's pinging me? She left! So let's take off, pitch forward. Velocidrone definitely feels so much easier than this. Why does Velocidrone feel so much easier than this? Because I guess. Whoa, see? You're losing altitude so quickly. Or is it because this is a blue background and there is nothing to gauge your altitude by? But that was like twitchy. I mean, this is feels laggy, floaty. I'm not sure. Which is more closer to real life? Is it velocidrone or is it liftoff? See? Oh, it's horrible. This twitchy quad. There's no way. How to change the flight controller settings in the. There's no scope to change the flight controller settings in liftoff. You have to learn with this. Velocidrone feels definitely a lot more polished, and the graphics of it are, I don't know if the PID loop, because it is actually using Betaflight 3.3 or something to run the game engine. Okay, yeah. When you're going so fast, you can almost feel that the gravity is like so much harder here, right? The physics of it are harder. I don't know if what is the case. You just vanish within seconds. You're away. So I believe. See, I don't know if the physics of which game are better. That is literally impossible. Okay, let's see what advanced turns look like. Quit. Yes. The tutorial here is it's crazy. Okay, let's see what advanced turns look like. I'll also decrease the rates on my beta flight whoop and then see if that makes any difference. Right, let's go up. Okay. Okay, same floaty quad, huh? Same floaty quad. Okay, impossible this is. This is a shitty quad that they give you in the tutorial. Just slides. How do you control that? Right? So you go here and you've turned and you have given lot of pitch. Right? But that guy who was flying it, I don't think in 7 days. It's impossible the quad that they've given you. Why is this quad so shitty? Oh, the velocidrone was so amazing, yeah? Velocidrone was brilliant. No, this feels so shitty. I'm not sure if this is down to hypersensitivity or what it is. We'll turn like this. Okay, then we'll go here and we'll turn like this. Why does it floats so high? No, I just can't get the hang of this. Okay, so you have to hit that gate, right? So you go there. You have to go from the right and turn around in the left. But velocidrone doesn't feel so floaty. Or maybe because you're not turning enough. Because you're already used to one thing, right? But this is a proper racing quad. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I've noticed this. Let's see. Velocidrone versus liftoff. Which is more realistic? The physics in liftoff are very, very good. Okay. Velocidrone is a little better. Have done any great job. And any practice you get on the sim will have a carryover to your real flying. Okay. Are you saying Velocidrone is better? What are you saying? Liftoff is it more directly transferred to real world. I learned on the simulator works. Hey folks, in the meantime I'm researching MacBook Pro. You will never have two quads unless built as copies that fly the same. As such, two sims that fly but to build skills of flying aircraft have varied characteristics. Price per hour your sims will be The most bang for your buck in the total get both. Personally, is much easier to resulting in very few loading zones for try. Also, damn good selection of build and liftoff has physics that are more directly real world. I learned on the simulator works, but has a terrible user interface with loading. So you click the mouse, hope you get an SSD. That liftoff has physics that more directly transferred to real world FPV. Yeah, that's what it felt. Have you tried Veloz New Gaming? Is it more realistic physics now? Does the Betaflight button come in handy at all? Be sure to a battery charger for the time it's fired. Okay. Do you have links? I was in the same boat. I assume I could power the radio I used before the simulator and didn't purchase it. Okay, big help. I took a trip to this weekend some question. But wouldn't mind some extra cash on the front. Thanks for it. Definitely. I plan on consuming any videos. Let's keep I'm having. 6 num. The chargers are probably the best out of anything. And the physics feels right. It could use the quad customization. Yeah, the radio setup guide is nice. I've been doing this for the last few weeks. Seems better physics and closer to the real thing. This guy says velocidrone feature, which makes it more fun. Either way, I bought and played liftoff. I went from knowing zero to hackro to flying freestyle and shooting through gates the first day out flying the real thing. So in my opinion, you can't go wrong either way. Also, liftoff has drones you can download from Steam. I would say velocidrone. Better physics, feels less floaty, and has huge amounts of tracks. Yeah, velocidrone doesn't feel floaty at all. It feels like it's on rails, but liftoff feels so floaty. Hmm. No, what the? Yeah, what is it? Okay, resume. Okay, they're saying velocidrone is better. Now I'm not sure entirely now what to do. Right?